Hi, welcome to 40 Cray, a podcast by a couple of 30-something dudes whose adult lives and responsibilities have not yet eclipsed their zeal for stupid nerdy shit. From everything from Warhammer 40k to video games, professional wrestling, to Chumbawamba's greatest hits. If it's your fandom, we're your tandem. As always, it's me, Tommy Bones, joined by Ben, LS Demon. How you doing, Ben?
Chumbawamba's greatest hits. Wasn't it just the one?
They had a bunch.
Did they really? What else was there?
Hang on a second while
While you Google it, yeah, Chumbawamba. He'll get knocked down, but then he'll Google it because Chumbawamba had some hits. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Disbanded in 2012. R.I.P. Chumbawamba.
Amnesia. Enough is enough. Time Bomb. Add Me, a good one. Classic.
All right. Well, I know what I'm listening to later when I've had a few of these delicious crushed raspberry sour. Well, actually, they're fine. The reason I still am drinking these is because no one at this party I had last week drank any. So I guess I like sours now.
Made friends already?
Well, trying to out here in the land of eternal spring, San Mateo, California. What are you drinking, Mr. Bonesaw?
This is Black Hog Brewery Ginger Ninja.
That's a really cool can.
Yeah, it is a red IPA brewed with real ginger.
Have you played, what is that game, Hades?
Mm-mm.
So it's pretty good. It was like an indie game. It's like a roguelike. Very fun though. But they have, it's Orpheus, and is it Eurydice? So it looks like Eurydice. Basically, she was one of the muses, I think. Well, Orpheus. Anyway, I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. Maybe she was a nymph, but she's like a very attractive woman who's like part tree in this cartoony game, and that's what she looks like. We'll probably cut that because that was an overly long explanation that nobody's gonna give a fuck about. So
she's a nymph, looks like a tree.
Nymph looks like a tree. Hey, it's all good. What, your nymph doesn't look like a tree? What's your nymph look like?
What's in the bowl, bitch?
Gabagool.
You just reminded me of Andrew Dice Clay on that last one.
Thank you. Dude, this is going to be a weird episode because we have to talk about some bad news.
Yeah, we're already in a weird mood.
So this guy, Sodaz, S-O-D-A-Z, he's a independent animation creator, made some super cool Warhammer stuff on the side, had it on YouTube, and then got hired for the Warhammer Plus launch to create some animations, and he got bullied out of business. So we're going to talk about how we feel about that. Spoilers, we're not happy. And then we want to talk about shapes.
Also shapes, yes.
Also shapes. Tom, do we want to give any spoilers for that, or should we just leave it and see what people, if they stick it to the end, they'll see what we mean about shapes?
Let it be a surprise.
Let it be a surprise. Okay. Circle, square, triangle, and pentagon. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, new kill team rules were announced.
So first question, Tom, had you seen any of Sodaz's, I think I could say it that way, any of his work?
Sodaz's. He did the Black Templar thingy on YouTube. I have not.
He did that. He also did a super cool Deathcore Krieg video. And I've got it teed up. We could watch a sec, but I don't know if that is an IP infringement thing or not. So maybe I'll just send it to you afterward.
Well, technically, does he work for them anymore?
Well, he pulled his stuff down. So I found it on a different YouTube channel where I guess somebody had saved it, which I guess is kind of hinky. So I'm not going to show it. But
I had read that was Games Workshop's doing. Like, a part of the contract was he had to remove all of his Warhammer related content.
And I mean, we've talked about this in previous episodes, and we even had Alpha Busa and Speaker D talk about this.
Right.
With Warhammer Plus, they brought on a number of animators, and you and I did a whole episode where we were super psyched about that.
Yeah, it looked cool.
And it did look cool. And I think people were mad because it used to be free. He pulled it down because it was going to be potentially rebranded and packaged with some other stuff to go in Warhammer Plus.
Right.
And people, yeah,
Like you do.
like you do. And instead of being like, holy crap, this amazing guy who's probably barely making ends meet based on his messaging on his Patreon, which I will show in a little bit, was like, hey, I got to make a living, so help me out. Games Workshop's like, cool, we're going to hire you, bring this aspiring artist into the fold. And then people were bullying the bejeebus out of him.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you sold out and you're bad. I'm sure there were like death threats. I mean, to be clear, I actually don't know if that's true, but I just know how nerds are.
Knowing the internet, yeah.
What is this toxicity? And not the good system of a down one.
And I wish I could say it was only the Warhammer community, but it's literally everywhere.
Totally. Do you remember when for me, there was a point in time when it specifically like became this like tidal wave of animosity that companies had to deal with? Do you remember when it was like first into your consciousness?
No.
Okay, so for me, it was Mass Effect 3.
Okay.
Do you remember that controversy? Did you play Mass Effect?
Yeah, I played all of them.
So like, you remember, like, first of all, if you haven't played it, it's a pretty tight fucking trilogy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know we're getting off topic here, but I just remember, like, I think it was in number 2. I was walking around on the Krogan homeworld, and these random NPCs were talking, and I learned all about the history of this alien race by these people talking. Right. I just thought that was such an interesting way to convey a story,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I might have mentioned on an earlier episode, I played the first one, and then when the second one came out, it ported all of the decisions you made in the first one, and I didn't like how they panned out, so I played the first one again, made different decisions that led to the second one, and then the same thing happened with the third one, and I had to start over from the first game. So I ended up playing that trilogy more than I probably should.
So it was 1, then 2, then you went back and did 1 and 2, then 3, then you went back 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I liked the game, but I probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it was fun.
But and again, we're like off on a like exit ramp here, but it was fun. It's not in my top 10 just because I don't remember, like, it wasn't a lot that was like super stuck in my mind. I probably wouldn't go back and play it again.
Yeah, the story was a little milquetoast, but
like while I was playing it, I had a blast.
Yeah, the mechanics were fun.
So the third one came out in 2012, and the ending was admittedly a little lackluster. And nerds lost their shit. And keep in mind, when I say nerds, I'm a nerd. I'm not saying, but you're an angry nerd. Like, instead of angry birds, it's angry nerds.
There's a difference.
Like, I get angry about shit too, but I don't go and throw death threats at people who make video games because the ending isn't to my specifications.
Right.
So that's what happened.
Gamergate comes to mind.
Oh, What can you talk about Gamergate?
I don't remember the specifics. Something about females in the industry. No women are allowed to make video games, apparently, and everyone lost their shit.
Oh, yeah. See, I asked you because I didn't really remember either. I just remembered it was something against women.
Yeah.
So it was a harassment campaign targeting women in video games, centered on sexism and anti-progressivism. And I think, if I recall correctly, so put in the comments if I'm not remembering, but there was an article that was published that was like critical of how gender roles were portrayed, like even in like Mario, which, look, people are entitled to that. Like, you can disagree if you want, you don't have to agree. But then there was this slew of like bile that came out of certain segments. But keep in mind, like, I'm not saying if you disagree with what the person was writing, you're bad. But when you threaten people, you are bad. Don't fucking threaten people. If you want to like think about, would you do it in real life? Like, would you get off your couch or your chair? Would you go into somebody's face and would you say that? And if the answer is no, then don't fucking do it on the internet.
And I think that's the biggest point, is that, these couch warriors that would, never say something in person, with the anonymity to hide behind, they can say whatever they want, consequence free without actually having to look someone in the eye to voice their shitty opinion, you know.
And it's not, and I totally agree with you. And you actually said, I told you we were going to talk about this. And I will say, you're a much better person than I am, Tom. I'm an asshole. Let's be honest. Like, I don't think you've ever done anything rude or untoward. I've never seen you do anything that wasn't like very kind and what's the word I'm looking for? Like gentlemanly or polite. I do in real life get in people's faces, like if I think that they're being rude. So I'm an asshole. So I'm not. If you're out there and you disagree with shit, like you are absolutely allowed to feel passionate about stuff, and you're allowed to be angry. Don't fucking threaten people. Like chill the fuck out. And Tom, I know you were bullied when you were a kid, right?
Who wasn't?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Wait. I think didn't we say in a previous episode you actually weren't bullied that bad?
And not terribly, but I don't know. I just,
You were the popular kid. You were like the captain of all this. No, that wasn't the.
no, I tried to just, blend in with the scenery and not create waves.
I couldn't do that because I'm loud and goofy and shit. And also I was always the new kid. I moved around like every year or two. And I got bullied mercilessly. So I feel like really badly. Like I was afraid to go to school. It took a long time for me to self-actuate. And like, look, whatever. Everybody gets bullied. I'm not saying like my life was so hard, but it fucking sucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I see this shit happen. And there's a guy, Sodaz, or these game developers who made a great game, or these like women who are, or anyone writing opinions about like how things are portrayed. I was talking about Gamergate with the women, but like it really could be anyone. It could be, you and I had a conversation with some friends about how LGBTQ plus people are represented in video games. Mm-hmm. Anyone, can be out there and express themselves. And I think it's frankly bullying and cowardly when you try to silence people. Express your opinions. You are entitled to them, and no one on this show is ever going to tell you not to feel the way you feel. But don't bully people. Do not bully people. Ask yourself how you would talk to that person in real life and do it. I have Reddit threads all the time where I disagree with people. I'm like, hey, interesting point. Did you think about this? And they'll say, well, no, here's my other point. Great. I learned something from that person, but I don't go out and say, hey, you fucking moron, like, don't do this. You're a sellout. You're a piece of shit. Because that just shows anyone who does that, you're weak and you're so angry that you're just trying to get your idea out there. Listen to the other person, have a conversation. All right, I'm going to stop, Tom.
A civilized conversation, point, counterpoint, try to see both sides of the coin. That's my biggest thing. Try to see all sides.
And by the way, I don't know if you can tell I'm getting passionate. The reason I mentioned you were a nicer guy than me, because before this you said, hey, if we get on and we yell at people who are angry, aren't we just perpetuating it? And you're absolutely right. Like we are. So I apologize. Like I'm not trying to, bully people.
We're bullying the bullies now.
I know, which isn't right either. It doesn't help anything. So, but that's why I say, like, look, if you're angry, like you think Sodaz joining Games Workshop is a bad thing, you're entitled to that opinion. You're not entitled to harass the guy. Be happy for him. You know what I mean? He gave us free entertainment. Now he's getting a paycheck and you're going to go after him and make him feel like garbage. And now he's not doing anything 40K anymore. We all lost.
You ruined it.
Well, Tom, I think there's a way to fix it.
How's that?
All right. I'm going to show his Patreon page. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, if you want to send me hate mail, you want to tell me why I'm an idiot, I'm not afraid of you. I'll have a conversation. I'm going to try to ask you questions, unless you really mean. But you're going to see my email. Our email is 40cray@gmail.com. You see it right there. Shoot us a note. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why you're angry. Fuck, if you want to say why you're angry and you think we're not representing it, we will totally talk about it on the air. Right? We always say, send us comments. Like hey, I hate XYZ. Fucking tell us. We'll talk about it. Your opinion is important. Just don't be a dick. Okay. Be nice. All right. So here's Sodaz, patreon.com/_Sodaz. 40 Cray is going to join his Patreon to support. If you are one of those people that harassed him or her, we don't know who this person is, or they, it could be any of those. Mm-hmm. Go online and tell them something nice, or follow up and say, hey, I'm sorry. Do it.
Do it right now.
apologize. Like, it's hard to apologize, but it fucking matters, and it'll make you a better person for it. If you're out there and you're listening and you feel like it, support Sodaz. Let's help him out, or her or him or they, because they're not on Games Workshop's payroll anymore. They quit. Let's join their Patreon.
Pause this podcast right now.
Actually, unsubscribe. Don't do that. Don't do that. Mash like and subscribe. Send us hate mail and then go back and Patreon this guy or gal or person. Okay, right? Like Buddha said, you can only kill hatred with kindness. Remember, if you ever watch Gandhi, there's a great scene where he talks about the only way to avoid hate is to live like the person that you hate. By the way, fantastic movie about his life. We're the same. This person had a terrible experience because of our community. Most of the people who reach out on the internet are angry. Like, it's just disproportionately. There's a lot of us who aren't. Go on, be active, be proactive, and let's support this person. And Tom and I are going to contribute via 40 Crate podcast to show our support. What else, Tom? I know you were like, don't get on the soapbox, and I fucking did it, didn't I?
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by the psychology, the sociology behind it. Like, what makes people behave the way they do. And it's just so fascinating to me that people, like, well, not everybody, there are reasonable people, but there is this subset of free YouTube content consumers that feel like they own that content because they watch it and they're fans of it. So when something happens that they disagree with, it's a personal affront to them, and they have to lash out. It's really interesting, I think. Where does that come from?
And like, I want to be clear, like, if you're one of those people, you can change. It doesn't mean like we hate you, but stop. Like, you're causing more harm. Like, we see this all the time, like around the election shit. We don't get into politics here, but man, that is some vitriolic shit. We don't have to be that way. We have a really fun hobby. We got some great content coming out. When you're playing Warhammer with people, be super nice, like, welcome new players. We can create a really great community. Like, most of us who play this were on the fringes of society at some point in our life. We don't have to perpetuate that. But beyond that, yeah, we all, I think, and this is us too, like, as gamers, like, we have a sense of entitlement, I think.
Yeah. But is it warranted?
It's hard, right? Because it's a good question though. Like, is it warranted? Like, with Games Workshop, we're in this weird love-hate relationship because we love their fucking stuff, but since they're the only people that provide it, there's a power differential, and that makes us feel angry.
Yeah, we've criticized their business practices multiple times, and yeah, but that doesn't mean we're gonna send angry letters and demand that they change the way they do things. You love it or you hate it, and if it doesn't bother you enough to stop doing it, then suck it up. You have no say in the matter.
Send something constructive. Hey, saw this release. Did you think about this? Love it. Good luck. Hope it's successful. Here's some ideas.
Yeah. There's not enough positive feedback, I think.
Let's do an experiment here, Tom. Let's talk. What are the things that gamers, hobbyists, and Games Workshop can agree is really awesome about the world, about Warhammer? I didn't prepare for this, so I have a couple of things. Anything come to mind?
The lore. Is super in depth, and yeah, I mean they're
so hot.
I mean, yeah, people they go crazy having to be right about everything. The fifth war of Armageddon and who the heroes were and all of this.
How to pronounce Abaddon.
Exactly. This is all
Tom and I had a text war back and forth trying to figure out how that. I say Abaddon and he says Abaddon, and I think we're both wrong. Actually, I think it's like Abaddon. It's like Hebrew.
I'm just applying the rules of the language, I think. Is in any word that has the combinations of letters A, D, and D, the emphasis is always on that syllable. So
What did you say? A, D, and D?
So the
Dungeons and
ADD,
Dragons.
exactly. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
That's what I thought. It was like,
We're going
okay.
second edition.
I don't think you're wrong. And your other point, which is that, and if you're a British listener, cover your ears. British people pronounce a whole bunch of shit like way wrong.
But you know, if it's a proper noun, then it can be pronounced any fucking way that they want. So
the one that gets me is they pronounce cadre, cadre, which I've never heard. There's a couple other words that were wrong. And I mean, it goes back to like
flat out wrong.
Chinese Beijing is Peking, or Mumbai is Bombay. Like British people, get the wax out of your ears. All these places you misnamed. I'm kidding, guys. Don't get mad. I'm just joking. You guys have a lot of great stuff too, like Warhammer.
And Eddie Izzard.
So yeah, Eddie Izzard's fucking tight. So you were saying like the lore's phenomenal. I'll put another one. Like Games Workshop is blowing up. It's becoming a worldwide thing. You can start seeing it in Target. I think that's great. Like pretty soon it's going to be more mainstream, so you won't have to be embarrassed when you tell people that you run a podcast about Warhammer.
Right.
About what? Warhammer. Oh, is that the thing with the little toys? They're not fucking toys. And yes.
Oh, sorry, action figures.
God damn it. They're miniatures. Is there anything else we can all agree on?
Scale modeling wargaming. Shut up.
That's right. What else can the hobbyists and Games Workshop both agree on? I know, fucking chainsaw swords.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of common ground. It's just the one or two, minor things that are inconsequential when you think about it that just trigger people to no end.
And you're right. In previous episodes, I've said Games Workshop could get a lot of street cred by being transparent, but I also get like when people like freak the fuck out like this, it makes sense why they're afraid to communicate to their gamer base. So guys, it goes both ways. Don't treat them like the enemy. There are some things they do which we don't love, but they're a business. They make things that we love. They've done a really good job for the most part. Do not go after these like small independent people that are trying to make a living. So you want to do right. If you said something mean to Sodaz, send something nice. Like, hey, I said something mean, I'm entitled to my opinion, but I'm sorry if I harassed you. And then go give them some money on Patreon, even if it's $1, just to help this person out because we may have ruined part of their career.
Now they have no YouTube ad revenue or Warhammer or Games Workshop paychecks coming in.
It's like when you order food on Grubhub and you get the wrong thing and they overcharge you. That just happened to me. That's why I mentioned it.
And then punch you in the stomach.
And then punch you in the stomach if you're lucky. And then repeatedly kick you in the gonads. It's like high school all over again. Right. Hey, can we talk about something else people are losing their shit over?
Yes.
Shapes.
You mentioned this at the start of the show. Eyebrow roll. And what did you mean by shapes?
What did I mean by shapes? I mean
polygons
specifically. So those two-dimensional shapes, which are, I'm trying to find the page. Hold on. Okay, I've got like 18 tabs open. Bear with me here. All right. Well, I'm trying to get that up. It's the shapes and kill tip, guys. We're not using inches anymore. We're using circles and hex. Here it is. I'm going to show it on my screen.
3 white circles for a Krieger.
All right. This is the new measuring mechanism in the new games of Kill Team that'll be coming out.
And in the same vein of the first segment, people have opinions,
which is fine.
Yeah.
It's good to have opinions. I mean, well, let's how about before we dive into their opinions, what's your opinion on this stuff? What do you think?
I don't care. Cool. It comes in the it's not much of a change. It comes in the box. You've already got the little meter ruler, and to the point that there was such backlash that they actually had to come out and say yeah, you could still use the ruler if you want. Like it, it is still measured in inches. If you really want to use the ruler, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's funny how pissed off people are, but I actually kind of like it just because I'm like a heel and I'm like, oh, everybody's angry. It's hilarious.
People are so resistant to change that they get so angry.
So, you and I have on several occasions had my lovely partner Gabrielle come on the show, and
Mhm.
she wants to be supportive, but I think there's a couple things about Warhammer she doesn't love. One is the art style,
Mhm.
which is fair. It's not her jam, and the other one is the layers of complexity in the rules. Not that
Yeah.
she's not brilliant, just that it's not as fun to her. Like you and I love calculating probabilities and shit and math hammer. Some people don't. So one of the things I liked about this is it's a simplification forcing mechanism.
Mhm.
Like now guns have infinite range unless they don't,
Right.
but most of them will. And there's only 4 different kind of measures you got to worry about.
Yeah.
Fine. Also, this thing looks kind of cool. I kind of like this little measuring. Look, I love that logo. I just think it's badass.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I do have one really strong OCD complaint about this.
yeah.
Triangle is 3. Square is 4. 6 inches, 5 sides.
Hexagon.
Why? This like literally looking at this right now is making my head hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The circle, it's got 1 side, 1 inch. Triangle, 3 inches. I don't know what we'd have in 2. So okay, fair enough. But
Just from a UI, UX perspective, it doesn't really. It would be a lot easier to grasp, I think, if less to think about. If it was
yeah,
just 3 sides, 3 inches. Okay.
I think that's really well said, Tom. Somebody else pointed out, I put this up on Reddit, and I was being a little facetious because I hope it works. Like if it brings in more people and it simplifies
Mm-hmm.
in ways that don't ruin the game, I'm all for
Mm-hmm.
it. But somebody pointed out that there's a little bit of an accessibility thing here. Like this
Mm-hmm.
might actually make it easier for some people who, for example, are dyslexic and maybe have trouble with different like layers of statistics, right? So if you have like one fewer column in that statistic list, that might help. It might be easier because there's also color coding. So like if I think this is for certain, there is a color blind where you can't see blue and red. So I don't know if that's actually accessible,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like this is a leading indicator they're thinking about accessibility, which I think is cool.
Though it doesn't look like the colors are on the tool itself.
That's you're exactly right. They're not. Like if I look at the tool, it's just gray.
Um, yeah.
So I'm totally fine with it, but I agree with you. A lot of people are super pissed. Let's wait and see. Like let's
Um,
hopefully the game's fun. If it's still fun, who cares?
yeah, I understand why they did it. There's a lot of confusion. Why couldn't they just leave it? It's first of all, it's a lot less for them to change regionally.
That's a good point.
Into different languages. If it's a black triangle, it's a black triangle everywhere on the globe.
And like metric versus standard.
Right. Um, and then another thing was why 3 white circles when you could just put one red pentagon. A Krieger has 3 white circles as movement. I think that was interesting because there's going to be some abilities that say reduce target's movement by 1. So if your model has 3 white circles, it reduces by 1. He only moves 2 white circles. And then somebody's like, well, why can't you just say reduce target's movement by 2 inches? Like because maybe a Death Guard, they're a little bit slower. Maybe they have 5 black triangles. So if it's they only go 5 inches, but reducing their movement by 1 is going to bring them down to 4 inches.
That's interesting.
Reducing a Krieger is going to affect them a little bit more because they're now down to 4 inches as well. So it's more of a penalty on the faster units.
It's a good point. And one of the I had kind of been thinking, I interpreted this as we're going to streamline movement and distance.
Yeah.
And I just assumed, perhaps incorrectly, that they were going to lose some of the nuance. Like, for example, Eldar are fast, orcs are slow. Like, I just thought everyone's going to move a pentagon. What you're saying, I don't know if it actually sounds that much simpler, honestly, because I'm just thinking to myself trying to measure these fucking little triangles. I don't know if I'd be able to do it. But the point is a valid one, yeah.
If you've got 2 blue squares, having your movement reduced by 1 is a lot more of a penalty than if you moved in black triangles.
Yeah.
So the faster, I'm sure it's a thing that they thought about, and they are going to have mechanics built around. They wouldn't just do it for the fuck of it.
Oh, you're right. Look at this. Yeah, it's 3. It's not a pentagon. It's 3 white circles.
Yeah, so they move 6 inches technically. Okay. And then you can still people like I want to use my ruler anyway, so I don't have to memorize the shapes. But if you are affected by a movement ability, then you need to know that the white circle is 2 inches, and now you can only go 4. You have to know the information anyway. No, just fucking do it.
Yeah. It's a good point, Tom. I hadn't thought about that, but I do think it's funny how upset people are. Like, just wait and see.
Yeah. GW also has a habit of only releasing like bits of information at a time, like with Disgustingly Resilient. When they changed that, and everyone was like, "Poxwalkers suck now. I'm never gonna take them ever." And like, then the whole codex came out, like, "Oh, okay, this makes a little bit more sense now." Like, yeah, if you only take one rule at a time, you might not get the big picture.
So I think these are all really valid points. Have you had any time to kind of contextualize or internalize the close combat and shooting rules that they were talking about?
Yeah, I seem fine with that. People are pissed that you don't get an armor save
in close combat. That did, honestly though, that did kind of strike me as weird.
But you know what? I think that's all going to
work itself out.
That's all going to come out in the wash with an increase in wounds.
Yeah.
A Krieger has 7 wounds. Maybe a Space Marine has 15 or 20.
Yeah. Reflecting that they've got power armor.
Yeah.
So it's less of a, hey, you can't hurt me at all, and it's more of, even if you hurt me, maybe it's like you popped some of the, like, I don't know, wire hoses that make up my armor.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's fair. That's why I say let's just like wait and see, because it's with Warcry, they simplified the hell out of a lot of this, and it works. Mm-hmm. It's pretty fun.
And there's even less symbols in this than there are in Warcry. Like literally every stat in Warcry was just a symbol.
And I also, honestly, I like the idea that like you can just, don't worry about distance, you can just shoot. That was fun for us, but just way complicated when you were trying to get into the game,
Yeah, definitely takes a while to. I think they're trying to streamline it and make it faster, because we would play some kill team games that lasted just as long as a fucking 40, a full size game.
Especially when I had like 18 guns. Like a douche. Oh man, I miss playing. I haven't played in like 3.5 months now.
May as well wait for the new rules now.
Yeah, pretty much. I really want to buy this box.
Yeah. And 3 mortal wounds on a 6. Yeah, it's fucking cool as shit.
That is cool. Well, we said our piece. We're gonna go free Sodaz. We're gonna post. I always try to post a lot of nice shit. Like, I think, what's weird? Hold on. Reddit is super positive. Have you noticed that? Like, people on Reddit on average are significantly more supportive than any other medium.
Yeah, they self-moderate for the most part.
I think it's the karma thing too.
Yeah. No one wants to be a dick.
So go on Reddit, be nice, be supportive. If you were mean, it's okay. Don't do it anymore, and go send Sodaz an apology. Actually, you know what? He's probably overwhelmed. Just go support him on Patreon, and like you can put something nice in there. Because
give him a hug.
Well, now I'm realizing, like, if we're saying like, oh, go, inflow this guy who's probably a little overwhelmed with like positive messages, that probably wouldn't be great either. So you know what? Post on a message board, free Sodaz. Join
Hey.
Patreon.
Do you need anything? I'm here for you, bro.
So, Daz, if you're out there, sorry, man. Your animations were real good. I hope you take some time to recoup and then get back into it. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. Don't forget to mash that like and subscribe button.
Suck it.
Suck it. Good fight. Good night. That's what you were about to say. When in doubt, punch it out.
Death of the False Emperor.
Death of the False Emperor. You're going to Fabulous.
Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Until next week. I don't know what this is. This is like I rock, paper, scissors. Or this is like when you do, I don't know why I did that. That's very awkward.
Scissor gun.
Scissor gun. If we ever do merch, I want a shirt that says scissor gun on it. Would you buy our merch? Would you buy our merch? Put it in the comments. And tell us why you hate us or what you like, whatever, or don't. All right. Later, everyone.
Catchphrase suggestions.
Catchphrase, yeah. Write us your catchphrase. We will literally say it on the air unless it's like racist, misogynist, homophobic, or something else.
Yeah.
It's up to our discretion. Yeah. That's right. I'm not even going to go down that path. I'm not even going to make a joke there. All right, cue the music. Recording in progress. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Oh no! Montezuma's revenge.
Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.